need to take advantage of the educational opportunities given to you. And that doesn't just mean radio and TV classes. It's real important that you know how to write and you know how to communicate with people. It's a communications business, and one thing I notice all the time is that the people working in the business often are not very good at communicating with each other. So one thing you really have to think about is learning to read and write and communicate. And of course, when you're offered all these various ways to learn your craft, you really have to do it. The best way to learn is by doing things. You have to get hands-on experience, and that can be through your various class projects, maybe going beyond just what you're assigned in class and trying to do some extra stuff.
When I was in college, I used to get up at 3 in the morning, and I used to meet this reporter at a radio station, and we used to drive around Boston looking for stories. I didn't get college credit for it. I didn't get paid for it. I just did it on my own, and it looked great on my resume. Those are the kinds of competitive elements that you're looking for your resume, regardless of what career you're going into, because your career starts right now.
Anytime that you go, whether it's a 2-year college, a 4-year university, a technical college, whatever, the key not so much, and I don't know if this is going to be a popular answer with the faculty, but the key not so much is finding the curriculum that fits it, finding somebody that's got a setup that you can get the basic knowledge to get started, and then experiencing everything else, and taking all the other classes and experiencing the life and living the life. Because what's going to happen is when you get into radio, if you choose to get into radio, the honest to God truth is they're not going to look at what collegiate radio you have. They're just not. They're looking for personality, they're looking for go-getters, they're looking for people that are making sacrifices, they're looking for people that have experiences outside of it that develop you as a personality as a whole. So don't necessarily, even if you want to do it, just say, you know what, I'm going to find the best radio school I can find, or broadcasting school, or communication school, and I'm going to take every communications course I can get, and then when I get my degree 2 years later, 4 years later, whatever, and I step out, the big job's going to be waiting for me. Because it just doesn't work like that. It's all about the sacrifices and paying your dues. So I would encourage you just to find an environment that you're comfortable in and that you can excel in, and then develop from there.
Our presenters consistently endorse gaining varied experiences, both in and out of the classroom. To prepare well, they say, diversify.
You have to know everything in television. I started out in Green Bay, Wisconsin, which was actually a large market to start out in. I was very fortunate. I didn't know what I didn't want to go to a small town. I'm from here, as you know, so it's a little disheartening to think, oh, I don't know if I want to move to Biloxi or Des Moines. And after I graduated from Medill, I was then interning back at NBC. So I had 3 internships in television.
The more you know about how everything works, the better off you're going to be. Because if you're going to end up writing pieces, even if you're not going to be editing them, if you know how the editing system works, if you know what its limitations are or what it can do, that's very important. And it makes it easier for you. It makes it easier on your editor. It's important to learn as much about the various aspects of the business. And don't wear blinders. If you're offered an opportunity to do something, it isn't exactly what you want, think real hard about doing it. It's worth it to get a foot in the door and to learn things, and you might find out that you have talents for things that perhaps you weren't aware of. It's very important to know as much about the various aspects of what goes into what you're doing, even if it's not something that you planned on doing.
Staying flexible, open to new opportunities is important. Another way to discover an unknown interest or talent, and something the pros always tell students they should definitely include in their plans, internships.
Best thing in journalism is to get internships. Get your foot in the door. And I will also tell you, at your point, in college at this time, you need to really think of like a summer internship in the fall. And that's the only way you'll ever see, if you want to get into this, you've got to see a working newsroom. You've got to see if you like this. It's a crazy job in a newsroom, high pressure, deadlines. So you've got to get out there and really get your feet wet and see what these people do and see if you like it. And I will tell you, an internship is just as valuable as a master's. You've just, in television, so many people have worked their way up from, I'm not kidding you, from the mailroom to writers, because it's just seeing the environment and understanding everything that goes on in television. You just don't talk. And that's the other thing I was going to say in journalism. We don't just talk. The biggest thing that I don't think people realize is everything is about writing. So if you don't like to write, you won't like television. I write my own, every word I say, everyone thinks, oh, you're a female, you don't know sports. Of course not. There's about 10 guys behind you that are writing everything you say. Absolutely not. I've never had one word written for me in probably 10 years, unless I'm on the set and there's breaking news and somebody has to write something for me. We have no writers. And that's the biggest thing. That's why I went back to get my master's, to really understand how to write. And television is different than print. They are night and day in terms of writing styles. We are very conversational. They have to know more grammar, and no one looks at my punctuation or actually how it's written, but you have to know how to write. And if you don't like to write, I'll tell you, you won't like television by any means.
Be not afraid to volunteer your time and your services and your quote-unquote expertise at no money, because people you have to really develop a relationship with people and before they will really trust you to pay you. And so in the film industry, this works time and time again. In Hollywood, it's the way that you get your foot into the door. You have to volunteer, you have to intern, you have to basically work as not a slave, but close to being a slave, in order to get people to trust you and develop the relationship and then become hired.
And then basically the internship is an opportunity to show the employers, you know, how dedicated you are, how quick you can learn, how much you're willing to do. My first job ended up being 1 to 5 in the morning on weekends.
Pretty glamorous, huh?
Yeah. And you know, well, back then the drinking age was 18, so when I turned 18 and graduated high school, that summer I didn't want to do anything but go out and have fun. And here I am working on weekends from 1 to 5 in the morning. Kind of cut into my fun time a little bit.
What's a good place to start off as an intern?
What's a good place to start off as an intern? Generally a radio or TV station, because if you go to a shoe store, you're not going to get much experience. All the local stations, for the most part, offer internships, the television stations especially, and what you have to do is contact them specifically. Many of them, if you go to their websites, they actually will have a place where you can click on that to get the information about an internship. Some stations that are larger, and that may be a key for you, if you go to a larger station, there are usually more internships available at a bigger station.